Hello there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, coming to you on this Wednesday, March 27th, 2019, with my next update video. So March is almost over. That was quick, huh? Yeah, I don't know where the time went, but here we are. It's almost April. And because it's almost the start of a new month, this video is going to be heavy on the planning. You might have heard, it's in the title. Yeah, lots of things coming up, lots of events, and so I thought that I would just sort of share what I'm working on for those events. In addition to planning, I've also got thank you for the mention. I remembered this time. Woohoo, go me. I also have the projects that I've worked on in the last week, as well as some immediate plans. I have stash acquisitions, which includes a beautiful gift that I received this week, so I'll talk to you guys about it. And then we're going to talk knitting, because I have a couple of things that I've worked on since last time. Books? Not this time. I'm still reading the same book that I was last time, The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's fabulous. I'm super, super loving it. It's starting to get really deep into the story, and I'm seriously enjoying it. But that's all I'm reading, because it's massive. And normally at the start of a month, I have gotten into the habit of sharing with you guys my TBR for the month, or my to be read pile. But because in March I didn't get to even close to all of the things that I had set out to, I'm just going to repeat that pile in April. I'm just going to try again. And then if I get through that pile pretty quick, then I'll talk about some of the other things that I had chosen for this 2-month block. Magical Stitches rules my life. And so my books are all related to Magical Stitches extra credit stuff. Anyway, you know this. So yeah, not much more preamble than that. I don't have a Q&A section this week. However, the question has come up quite a bit recently, and that has to do with my spreadsheets and sort of how I track my stitching. And so I am probably on Monday going to post a video that showcases some of my spreadsheets, the ones that I use most primarily, and just so that you guys can get a peek into this brain of mine. Yeah, so look for that early next week, I think. Yeah, so let's get into everything else, and we're going to start with thank you for the mention. As I said, I've got 2 this week. Haven't watched a whole lot of FlossTube. I go through this every spring. I start listening to a lot of music. I watch less FlossTube, and I listen to more music. So that's kind of the phase that I'm in right now. I still try to watch some FlossTube to try to stay somewhere close to caught up, but you know, watch it when I can. So anyway, but the 2 that I have this week, this go round, the first is Mika of Darling Bluebell. Now, Mika was on a pretty strict stash diet, and I enabled her to break it. Sorry, but not sorry. I had spoken about the Takaki pieces that Tilton Crafts had charted, and I think that I told everybody to run, and so Mika did. And she bought a chart that I was hemming and hawing over. I'm gonna have to get a hold of that if I can. The symbolism that Mika was able to draw from that project, it just makes it such a powerful, meaningful piece. Do I need another full coverage project? About as much as I need a hole in the head. But I don't know. Everything that she drew from it, I can relate to, and I can totally see where those conclusions were drawn from, and it just gets to me. So I might have to get a hold of that. So Mika, thank you for the mention, but also thank you for enabling me back. Hashtag Jessie made Mika make me do it. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, so the second thank you for the mention goes to Kayla, the Hufflepuff stitcher. She is brand new to FlossTube. Not brand new. I think she's got 4 videos out now. I've been really bad about watching the new FlossTubers. It's been a struggle. I'm struggling to keep up with the people that I watch on the regular, let alone new people. But I added Kayla's first couple videos to my watch later, and they popped up in the last couple of weeks. Kayla is from Michigan, and it's funny. After watching her second video, Danny came home from work, and he said, "Have you been talking to some of your family today?" And I said, "No. Just me and Thor." And he says, "'Cause your Michigan's coming out." And I said, "Oh, that's Kayla's fault." So apparently I can't watch Trisha or Kayla now before filming because my Michigan comes out. And it affects my voice a little bit. Anyway, I thought that was funny. So Kayla, in her second video, she does the Know Your Needleworker tag. And first of all, you should be watching her. She works on some fabulous things, and she's great. She talks about the fact that because she used to work in a craft store, in a big box craft store, she essentially has tried all of the crafts. She's tried all of the things. And so she was talking about knitting and mentioning the elaborate things that I have done. And I don't know, that was really heartwarming because sometimes I feel like I work on some basic stuff. That's not the case this week. Something I'm working on this week is definitely not one of the more basic things that I have ever done. So definitely check out the Hufflepuff Stitcher. She is what I would hope would be obviously deeply entrenched in the School of Magical Stitches like the majority of us, and she's great, so definitely check her out. So thank you ladies both for the mentions this week. I mean, I guess they weren't necessarily this week in your lives, but they were in mine. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on. Still no FFOs. Still a boring wall behind me. I gotta get back on that stuff. Let's get into the works in progress. When last we spoke, I had spoken about the fact that I needed to get into my Magical Stitches homework because, as has been echoed across FlossTube this week, last week's homework rather was kind of complicated. It definitely made us stretch a little bit. Fortunately, this week has been a little bit of a reprieve, but last week was kind of involved, and so I talked about the fact that afternoon I was going to hit the ground running and try to get through some of my homework. So that's what I did. And what I ended up doing was creating a wheel. And because I'm like itching to let Tiny Decisions choose things for me. And the first thing it drew was the fantasy sound. Because of course. But it's all right. I'm not mad about it. So this is my terrible cover. I'm going to insert an actual cover of what the whole project will look like when it's done. I had chosen this project for Care of Magical Creatures for what I hope are obvious reasons. And then I also decided to continue working on it for the portion of extra credit that I had applied this to. So with relation to Dementors, a project that sucks the life out of you. So I had to put in 200 stitches for each of those. And so I did, and then a little bit more. So here's where the whole project stands currently. I hope you can see all that. I can't see through this because it's dense with stitching. And I was focusing on page 3 over here. And I finished page 3. Not only did I finish page 3, so I have just essentially 2 more pages to go. 3 more parts though, if you count the July block that I still have to do. So not only that, but the top third of this whole project is done. It is done and backstitched. It is all done. And that felt so big. Like, it felt like finishing Lady of the Flag. It's ridiculous, but I mean, I've been working on this for almost 3 years now, 2.5 years. And so to just now be reaching a point where I feel like I have some pretty steady footing on getting this thing done, it just feels massive. So top third is done. Very exciting. Fabric here is 32 count Belfast in Heroic by Picture This Plus. It stitches up more like a 35, 36 count. But I'm so excited to have it done. And it only took 2 separate stitching sessions. That's all it took. So I put in, I think, a total of like 500 some odd stitches to get it done. And if you're wondering, yes, I absolutely claimed this for Stitch from Stash because, like I said, it just felt significant. Yep. Very excited. And not hating it. Kind of liking it a little bit. Just a little bit. So, that's Fantasy Sal. Okay, so I worked on Fantasy Sal Wednesday evening and then again on Thursday morning to finish it all up. So then I was like, well, I can get on with Stargazer like I had intended, but really what I think I need to do is keep going with homework. And so I spun the wheel again, and this time it pulled up Glory of Autumn by Dimensions. So I was very excited to get to work on this, and it took way too long to get 200 stitches done. Way too long. So this I am stitching on 28 count Cashel linen in antique white from Zweigart. I subbed this fabric in, and here's where I'm up to. So let me fold this in half. So this took 2 stitching sessions, Thursday evening and then Friday morning. It should not have taken this long to do 200 stitches. So I was working in the green trees here. And those are done with half stitch with 4 or 5 strands. And that was not easy. I'm just gonna put it out there. I almost UFO'd this because that was not easy. There are, I think, 4 different colors in there, 3 or 4, and it just took forever. I did finally get in a groove with it. Really, what happened was I finally decided to switch up my needle because I stitch almost exclusively with a size 28 Peacemaker and a size 28 and 5 strands of floss. Those 2 things do not go well together. So I finally bucked up and pulled out, I have some 26s. And so I was able to, that made it tremendously easier. Just that like twice as large eye made all the difference. It took me like 4 hours, give or take, to do the equivalent of 400 or 200 stitches. So 400 half stitches. Absurd. But I do like the look of it. I like the look of it. I have such a long way to go on this. But anyway, there it is. It got a little love here in the month of March. A lot of times when I finish working on a project for anything, I wish that I was able to apply it to an ultimate stitching challenge. that one, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't because it would take forever. So, okay, up next was Stargazer. I did get to Stargazer starting on Friday evening, but I'm going to show you that last because it'll just make more sense that way. So then Sunday arrives, and it was basically like, oh yeah, homework. I need to finish this up. I had chosen temperature balloons to do for arithmancy for homework last week. But to avoid switching projects so much, I decided to make one project fit 2 courses. And that was Long Dog Samplers Opus 2. So I did this for arithmancy because, like I talked about, very geometric. Most of the motifs are very symmetric and geometric, and metric, that's mathy arithmancy. And then I also used it for ancient runes because of the, well, first of all, there's an alphabet up here, but there's also Quaker motifs, which I talked about last time. So I worked on this and put in a little more than 400 stitches for both of those homework tasks. And I could have done so much more. I really happily could have done so much more. But I didn't. I wanted to keep going to work on this for the extra credit that I have it pegged for. But I had to get back to Stargazer, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. So I finished out this little star and stitched the big star, and then came down here and worked this half of the of that big motif there. This is on 32 count linen in Oyster from MCG Textiles. I'm stitching it using DMC 924. And can I just say that I really love this color? I really love the contrast. I love the way that it's looking. I love that deep dark bluey green. Yeah, this is good. And the month of I Stitch What I Want is coming up. This might get some love and attention in April. It very well may. But we'll see. So there is Opus 2. And I'm looking forward to getting back to it. Like everything else. Like I said, Stargazer I will talk about last. Monday afternoon, I pulled out my Animal Piles Quartet because Monday was Emily C's birthday. So happy belated birthday, Emily. Yeah, I was really excited to get this pulled out and to start working on my own goat load. Because the sale started March 1st, there's a whole bunch of people already done. It's fine. I was late. It's fine. I'm not worried at all. So, goat load. I'm not going to take it out of the plastic. So there's a little bit of glare going on, but you get the idea. You've seen it 100 times across FlossTube this month. So I am doing a quartet. This is on 32 count Belfast and Colonial Parchment from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And you're going to notice some things. So Monday I got started on goat load. And that's what that is over there. And then Gobble Gob and Llama Lump will come down here, but that's not till later. So that's what I did on Monday, this over here on Goat Load. I did change things up a little bit. This flower gets cut off in the original pattern. Right there, you see. So I just thought that I would extend it upwards since the sheep in Sheep Heap kind of breaks the plane, so to speak, of the border. So I thought that I would just bring that flower up. Super excited about this color. I was going to use Color and Cotton Witch's Socks, so it's like a hot purple, almost a neon ultraviolet purple. But I went with the red, which is Color and Cotton Carmine. Some alliteration for you. And I really love it. I love the variegation in it, and I think it's a really pretty, fun red. So, got going on that. So originally my plan was to give this project 3 days, and I was going to work solely on goat load for those 3 days. But the more astute among you will notice that there's been some development in the sheep heap block. So here's the deal. Sheep heap is in my Stitch 9 challenge, and my goal for this project for the year is to get one of these stacks done. So if I focused on goat load and got it finished, then this project would go away and I wouldn't get this Stitch 9 challenge piece done. Now, obviously, I could keep going and have 2 blocks done by the end of the year. I'm fully aware of that. But I just thought that if I'm going to work on this project, which features goat load, then I might as well work on my Stitch 9 challenge piece. So that's what I'm doing, or that's what I've done. And so I came over here and I stitched this sheep. He got no legs yet, but he will. I think that I have to restitch his face. It is done in... Oh, that's why. Okay, so his body is done in Weeks Dye Works bark. That's what that dark shade is, and that's as called for. His face is in gunmetal, which is the color I'm using for the borders. And so I thought that the contrast would be enough, but I don't love it. So I may restitch that in Anchor Black or 310 or something, just to up the contrast a little bit, because his face kind of gets lost. I have a hard time seeing it in person, so it might be time to switch that up. So anyway, that's where I got to with my Animal Piles quartet after 2 days effort. Let's talk about Stargazer now, finally. So, as I said, I pulled her out Friday afternoon. I worked on her Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now here's some irony. The whole reason that I'm working on her now is because I only was going to have a 3-day rotation back towards the beginning of the month. And so I moved her to now so that she could get a 5-day rotation. And here she was only getting 3 days. Too funny. And so let me just show her, and then I'll talk about why she's still in my frame. So I show you guys this, but I mean, really, it's just the shape of her. This is Stargazer by Mirabilia. And I've made some really good progress, considering I worked on her for technically 4 days, but, well, technically 5 days, but officially 4. Yeah, it looks so much better in the camera in what you guys are seeing. I'm sorry, I can't take off the clip that looks like a spider because it's holding up that foam. Not foam, batting, that's the word. So I'll talk about that here in a second. I have made it down to the bottom of my March goal. And I did that just this morning. I'm super, super loving her. So why do I have this up here? Some of you are like, did you start beading? No, I did not start beading. I always use this to protect beads when I'm stitching. But that's not the case now. I'm having an issue with my Millennium frame, and I think it's probably because I tighten it too much. But I'm squishing the stitches and warping them, and I hate it. I really hate it. They get smashed, and one of my favorite things about stitching on linen is that they look a little bit fluffier. And so I am trying to protect my stitches as best as possible by adding the batting. So that's why I'm doing that. It's kind of a pain. It's really kind of annoying, but it's what I have to do nowadays. So anyway, so here she is. Fabric is 32 count Belfast in Florin by Chromatic Alchemy, Virginia Tech inspired conversion. I did fix that brightest shade, so let me come from underneath. In there, I think is about where I was, and I did fix that. I ripped it out and replaced it with a different thread color. I went from It doesn't matter. It quiets it down a little bit. So it's not so shocking, and it still looks like fabric, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I have struggled a bit because the darkest shade in sort of the color of the back of the fabric is very similar to the darkest shade of the front of the fabric, so to speak. So I use $37.99 as my darkest shade, my darkest gray. I use black as the very darkest, but primarily it's $37.99. And it's $8.44 for the front of the fabric. Those two colors are just so very close together. So I was worried that the contrast, that you wouldn't be able to see the fabric movement there, but it's totally fine. I'm good with it. Last time I talked to you guys about 3722 and how I pilfered the little bit that I had in this kit to work on Forever and Ever. Turns out I was wrong. I still needed 3722. That palest shade there is 3722. But I bought a new skein, so it's all good. And then just this morning, I finished up the oranges over here in this region. And I love her. I really do. I love her. And I'm having a blast working on her. So she's still in my frame. And she's definitely not supposed to. She was supposed to come off Monday, and that be it. I talked about maybe stitching on her tomorrow to pick up my 5th day on this project, if I felt like I needed it. I did not expect to be working on her today. So here's the deal. First of all, homework this week in School of Magical Stitches and Literature is with relation to a boggart. And so we are to put in 500 stitches on a project that scares us, because when you first see a boggart, it transforms itself into something that you are terrified of. Then we are to stitch 500 stitches on a project that makes us happy, because in order to perform the charm on a boggart, you need happy thoughts. You need happy thoughts. You need to think of your worst fear, but in a funny or a fun or a happy sort of way. So I chose Stargazer for both parts of this week's homework. Conversions are scary. They are terrifying. Not only that, but the sort of basis for this project, it's kind of sad stuff, but it's about one of the scariest days of my life. And so that's what I chose for that part. But this project also makes me super happy. Like, I get so happy working on it. I love seeing it come together. I love seeing my conversion work. I love working on my conversion. I love this project. It makes me happy. So 1,000 stitches total for that. And I hadn't, by Monday afternoon, I hadn't reached the goal on the second half. In addition, semi-sane stitchers. So if you guys like counting challenges, you should totally be in semi-sane. It is linked down below. They do lots of fun counting-based challenges, and one of them is the district games. It's Hunger Games based, so more fandoms. And this go round, we are in the trials for District 5, which is Power. So our first week's task dropped on Monday, and it is to put in 2,000 stitches on a project that you get powered up for, or something that powers you. And I'll be honest, at first I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Powers me up. It's a little too vague. It's a little too abstract for me to try to make fit. On top of that, 2,000 stitches. I have to make time for that. So then I was thinking about it, looking at my 2019 WIPs, and I thought, you know what? Stargazer powers me up. I get such a kick out of working on this. It gets me, like, every time I progress a little bit further down and start to see the colors work, it's so good. It's so good. It keeps me motivated just to see the conversion come together, to see the vision in my head play out. That's phenomenal. On top of that, this project makes me think of not only April 16th, but like my entire Virginia Tech life. And specifically, it makes me think of Hokie football. And there is nothing more hype than Virginia Tech college football entrance to Enter Sandman. There is nothing more exciting than that. Yeah, it's the best. That gets me super hype. So, I'm working on this for that. So essentially, I have 2,000 stitches to put in. And so that's why Animal Pio's Quartet came off the frame after yesterday, and this went back on. And to be totally honest, I'm feeling pretty great about the fact that I'm going to get another 2,000 stitches in on this. I managed to reach my March goal, like I said, but if I could get further down, that would be great. To be honest, I'm contemplating an April finish on this piece. And you guys will see here in a little bit that may be possible. But we'll see what happens. So I'm going to work on this quite a little bit here and over the next couple of days. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wonderful segue, if I do say so myself, into plans. So, buckle up. We have a lot to talk about as far as plans are concerned. In the immediate future, I'm working on Stargazer from now until I get those 2,000 stitches done. As soon as I get those 2,000 stitches done, and I'm hoping that that's Friday, then it's head on into everything else. Okay. So, everything else. First up is Miss Oh So Crafty birthday sale. She is running this through Stitch from Stash through the group, and it is a 7-day rotation in which you choose a project based on the various prompts. So I'm going to go through those real quickly. It starts on Friday, runs through April 4th, which I believe is next Thursday. Okay, so March 29th, the letter S. Stitch a designer or a pattern starting with the letter S and or specialty stitches. And for this, I will be working on Stargazer. If by some miracle I reach these 2,000 stitches tomorrow, then I will do instead Temperature Balloons by Stitch and Mommy. So we're sticking with the S no matter what. It's time that I get to work on this for my rotation, my monthly rotation on it, so it will work. March 30th is Jewel Tones. Stitch something involving my favorite colors. Any gem color is cool. And I have Temperature Balloons chosen for that as well because I've got some serious jewel tones going on in this project. So let me show you where I'm starting from on that. And hopefully I can get caught up. This is on 32 count Belfast in Snowdrifts from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And yeah, we got some jewel tones going on. Some bright blues, some purples, some greens. Yep, pretty jeweled in there. And with I think it's projected to be 75 Fahrenheit on Saturday. That should look really interesting. So that's what I'll be working on for March 30th. March 31st, Wonders of Nature. Stitch something with plants and or animals. I will be working on in this moment. AKA Mika McKenna, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Jeremiah Kettner. I am also working on this on April 1st For imagination, stitch something fantastical, literary, or imaginary. And so this also qualifies for fantastical, I think. And so let me show you where I'm starting from with that. 25 count cream Lugana from Zweigart. April 1st also starts my rotation with this. So this will get worked on for those first 5 days of April. And so that's where we're starting from. I'll be working on page 22 down here. So there's that for the 31st and the 1st. This next project applies for the next 3 days. So the final 3 days of Stephanie's sale. On April 2nd, fancy, stitch something fancy, whatever that means to you. On April 3rd, sparkles, stitch something sparkly, so metallic threads, sparkly fabric, or beads, something to that effect. And April 4th is focus finish. Stitch on whatever you have that is closest to a finish and or fully finish something. A birthday finish is a great present if you ask me. So I will be working on something I've been so excited to get to. And this is Christmas at Winterberry Cabin by Brenda Gervais. So fancy, all fancy floss. Sparkly, opalescent fabric. Focus on a finish? Okay, I'll do that. I'm going to try to finish this on April 4th. Now I'm working on this in conjunction with In This Moment for its rotation, so that could be a little complicated, but I think, to be honest, like, there's still quite a bit to do here, but it's all little stuff. So I think I could get this done in just a few more days. Effort. Let's hope. I'm going to focus on it. And this fabric is 28 count cashel in Crystal Ale from Picture This Plus. So it's spring. Christmas is a long way away, but that's all right. I'm gonna work on Santa. So those are my plans for Stephanie's birthday salad. I'm really excited about that. So then, let's get into my plans for WhipGo. And I'm going to insert the clip here so that you can see what I'm working on for those. I've also switched up my timeline a little bit, and you'll see that there. So check it out. Hello there, everybody. How's it going? So we are here to figure out what I'm going to be working on in April. Now, just to let you guys know, it's super early, like way early in March. It's about mid-March. And I am doing this now basically because of magical stitches. So here's the deal. Because year 3 spans 2 months, it spans both March and April. In order for me to make sure that I get all of my stitching extra credit done, I would really like to break it up between the 2 months. But I can't exactly plan out the rest of March here without knowing when I'm going to work on these things. So like, let's say for instance, Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. I still have that to do for extra credit for this school year, so to speak. But it might get drawn in April. So I don't necessarily want to make time for it here in March when it could get 5 days in April. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I'm doing this early. You guys probably aren't seeing this until my last video of the month. I'm probably not going to upload it until then, but I'm doing it now and I'm letting you guys know what the actual situation is. So, in the future, I may be drawing things on a 2-month basis, so essentially drawing 4 things every month, or every time I do, but we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. There are some things that are changing a bit with how I'm doing things. So anyway, so normal setup, WhipGo board on the right, random number generator on the left with 1 through 25. I'll let you know if I need to redraw for things depending on what comes up here. So here we go. We're going to hit generate, and we got number 17, which is, let me see here, 15, 17. Oh, that's perfect Christmas Santa. And so I am going to leave that in. I'm not going to redraw that because it still needed to get called. So I can actually turn this block, I can completely cover it in with black once I get to that point. But what this is going to allow me to do is to have a 5-day rotation to work on what I want. So that's kind of beautiful. I could work on whatever. I could put in more time on Stargazer, or I could work on my extra credit or my homework. So that's really kind of nice. Okay, so let's generate for the second. We get number 4, which is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So that is exactly why I did this today, because Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow has 5 days in the month of April. Maybe I can get that block done. That would be fun. So there's no need for me to try to squeeze it in here in March, since I'm going to be able to get that extra credit done in April. Very excited about that. Okay, so let's go over to my Stitchy calendar, and right away you're going to notice something a little bit different about Stitchy calendar this month. And that is the sort of switch up on the rotation. So Stargazer has moved down a couple of weeks. And the reason for that is Stargazer, as you probably know, is a Virginia Tech remembrance piece that I have put together based on my thoughts and feelings regarding the tragedy that took place on April 16th, 2007. And it just so happens that one of my 5-day rotations starts on the 16th. And so I decided to shift Stargazer down here so that I can work on her on the 16th. So that's why that's going on. And so my focus weeks will just be a little bit early, but that's all right. So I'm going to put in free week here because this is the perfect Christmas Santa. And since that project is done, I don't need to focus on it. And then focus 2 is Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. And so I will do that. And look, it lands on the 13th, so dark 13 stitching. We're probably going to be in Blacksburg for that, but nonetheless, at least it's scheduled. So there's that. And this is what April looks like for me right now. Because it's so early in March, like, I don't know for certain what April's going to look like. So this is going to be real basic. I know I have In This Moment for the first 5 days, but I can't remember if the Zoo Sal is Stitch Mania or Full Coverage Fanatics. I'm not sure. These in the blurple color down here are for Miss Oh So Crafty Stephanie's birthday Sal, but they are subject to change. And then I've got temperature balloons down here. The history shows me that those only need 2 days to get done, and so I've allotted 2 days for them. And then I've got 8 days at the end of April with nothing. Just nothing scheduled there. And in here is my birthday. And I still don't know what I'm doing for my birthday this year. So it's all up in the air. It's all very fluid, and who knows what's actually going to happen. But at least we know that from the 6th to the 10th, I'm going to work on whatever I want. And the 11th through the 15th, I'll work on Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So that's it for April planning, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Get you back to the other video. So that kind of covers it as far as my plans are concerned. As you see, I've got a free week. And that is equal parts liberating and also kind of terrifying. So I may have opportunity to work on Stargazer. I may choose to work on something to try to finish it. Maybe I'll need to spend some more time on In This Moment to get my goals reached, because April being an even month, it's only going to get that 5-day rotation. So maybe I'll need that time to finish up my By the Numbers. Who knows? Maybe I'll spin the Tiny Decisions app and let it choose what I work on for that week. Maybe I'll just wait for the homework to come out and do that, or work on extra credit. I don't know. as I said, it's liberating. So I will show you what I'm working on next week. Hopefully I'll be able to make a decision by that point. So we'll see. We shall see. Okay, let's get into some stash acquisitions. First things up in stash acquisitions, I have my nest egg. So I get 10 5-yard skeins of Gentle Art sampler threads through Trisha at 3L Threads. Hit up her Facebook group if this is something you're into. I get so excited every month when these come in. And this month was no different. So we are in the O's and P's. I guess that Trisha placed her order for these while she was at Nashville, and because of Nashville, there are some repeats, which is fine by me. 2 skeins of a few of these colors. Okay, I'm good with it. You won't find me complaining, not in the slightest. I'm not going to go through each of these. I'm sure that several people already have or will, but there is a great mix of colors in here, including orange marmalade. Love. So there's that. Okay. Up next is, y'all, I'm spoiled. I am spoiled. Y'all spoil me. And by y'all, I mean Belinda Aussie Stitcher. So, you guys know a couple weeks ago I was going through a bit of a rough patch, and Belinda got in contact with Emily, Eclectic Possessions, and commissioned a bag. So last week I'm watching FlossTube, and I was watching Emily's latest video, and she's showing this bag, and she says that she's got some of these coming eventually at some point. And I thought, all right, I'm going to need to stay on top of things. I'm going to need to destash some stuff or finish some things because I'm going to have to buy this bag. And then it arrived in my mailbox. So this is the bag that Belinda convinced Emily to make for me, commissioned, I guess, not convinced, and it's stunning. It's stunning, but wait till you guys see the inside. It's kind of maroon and orange in there. Oh gosh, I love this. I cried. Danny was like, why are you crying over a bag? Because Stitchy friends are the best. Stitchy friends are the best. So, thank you both for this, but Belinda, you know how I feel about you. So, let's talk about something. Inside this bag is my birthday start. Yep. I'm having a new start for my birthday. You only get to turn 31 once, and this is, I'm so excited about this. I'm having a hard time. I have kept this very close to the chest. I haven't told, okay, I told Kyle, because I just felt like telling somebody, and he happened to ask at the right moment. So, but otherwise, I've kept it a secret. Okay. Going through that rough patch, and I posted on Facebook what specifically was going on. And Ingeborg, A Stitch Too Far, commented and spoke about this quote from Emily Dickinson, which I have had in my head for quite a while now. But I couldn't place it. I couldn't remember, like I couldn't remember who the quote was from, and I meant to look it up, and then I just never did, and meanwhile this quote is running through my head. And then Ingeborg posts it and tells me that it's an Emily Dickinson quote, and I went, oh my gosh, that's where I've heard it from. Hope is the thing with feathers. So where I first heard this quote, I don't know, but where I heard it most recently was like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, watching an At a Last Chance sale from McKenna. We're going to get there, don't worry. Just go on this journey with me. And she showed this chart, and I came this close to buying it, but I was strapped for cash, and I just decided against it. So that got me looking. And then I started looking for it. I'm like, all right, I've got to find this chart. And I found two charts that feature this quote. And one of them is by Rosewood Manor, and the other is by Maura Blackburn. So I'm on 1, 2, 3 stitch, and I'm looking at this and kind of weighing back and forth which one I like best. 1, 2, 3 stitch did not have the Maura Blackburn in stock, but they did have the Rosewood Manor, and so I almost ordered it. I almost ordered that. Except then I kept digging and looking for the Maura Blackburn, and I found it on European Cross Stitch. So earlier this week, I got a package in the mail from European Cross Stitch, but it was not a chatelaine kit. It was Maura Blackburn's Hope Sampler. And ultimately, this is my favorite of the two because of the colors. First of all, the colors. Second of all, the moths. I love them. I love this. It's so pretty. It's just so pretty. So I'm going to start this for my birthday. And I'm so geeked about it. I don't think I'm going to do a birthday sale because I know not everybody likes samplers and not everybody's doing a Maura Blackburn. I'm not going to convince everybody to stitch along with me, but I am going to make a new start for my birthday because this quote means a lot to me. And let me read it. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. I'm so excited. I'm giddy. I'm so excited. So yeah, on my birthday, April 25th, I will be starting this, and I'm geeked. So I am still auditioning fabrics. She doesn't list a fabric. There's no fabric listed here, which I think is interesting. It's charted in DMCs. I may up the ante a little bit and go NPIs, because why not? But we'll see. I'm so excited. You guys, I'm starting kind of a repro sampler. So, Ingeborg, thank you for the quote and for reminding me of this. I'm so excited. So this is living in this bag because hope and just, everything that's going on, and it just all goes together. But no chart should travel alone, and European Cross Stitch had a 24 by 24 cut of 28 count antique white cashel linen for like $12. So I bought that. I almost bought another Maura Blackburn, but I thought, cool your jets, Jess. Repro samplers are they're not usually what I gravitate towards, so I just need to take it easy. Start with one. So that's what I did. And I am excited. I think it's okay to have a birthday start. If it takes me 4 months before I have a new start this year, so be it. I feel zero guilt whatsoever. So anyway, so that is it for the stash acquisitions. Let's switch over to knitting. Okay, first up in knitting is the project that I worked on last week. And this is in my house yarn project bag. I don't know if she's still doing project bags. I bought this ages ago. It's massive, but it was meant to hold a massive project. And in it, I have 5 skeins of yarn. So the project in question is Starting Point. And this is by Locatelli. Let me see if I can find the front. There's the front. And it's not attached to anything currently. So this is part 1. I still have to repeat it for part 2 and then join them together. But, so this is Starting Point. And that's showing up way more magenta than it is in real life. But this is happy. This was a mystery knit along a couple years ago. And obviously I am super far behind, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. I am knitting this out of Madelinetosh Tosh Merino Light in, let me go through the colorways. That neutral there is Antique Lace. This dark gold color is Glazed Pecan, or Pecan, or Pecan, or however you pronounce that. And yes, I have heard somebody say Pecan before. This variegated colorway is Firewood. The magenta color here in this eyelet section is Heartbeat, and that dark orange, beautiful, is the Fox, which is an exclusive to Eat Sleep Knit. Or maybe not to Eat Sleep Knit, but it was an exclusive for a while. Anyway, so here's where I am currently. I am working on Clue 2. I think there were a total of 5, but the 5th one is the join. It doesn't matter. And when I picked this up last week, I had another garter stitch repeat to do in the Glazed Pecan. And then I thought, all right, I'm going to do another part before I move on. So I knit the eyelet band and then the heartbeat band. I have another band like this to go in Firewood, but that's for next time. This thing is going to be massive. And also I have 8,000 hanging threads to weave in eventually. But yeah, this thing's going to be big, and I'm so excited about that. It's also going to block out. It's in garter stitch, so it's squishy. Yeah, this is a lot of fun. But if I'm honest, garter stitch gets boring pretty quick. So it was time to generate a new project to work on. So I hit random number generator, and it pulled this, which is living in this bag from a designer. I cannot remember the name. And there's no, oh yes, there is. Kicks and Giggles. And this is a project bag for on the go. So you do that and then you can knit from it. Anyway, so this gorgeous foresty bag. And living in it is my Sprite's Fen. And I meant to finish the row I was working on before I showed it today because it's going to be hard to see anything. So this is a lace weight shawl by Helen Stewart, also known as Curious Handmade. And this was in the 2017 Shawl Society. Yep. And I cast it on the day that it was released. So Shawl Society is, you get I think it's 5 or 6 shawl patterns, 1 a month. And there's a big knit along for Shawl Society, and they are all Helen Stewart patterns. And so I cast this on immediately, but obviously I haven't finished it yet. So this thing is over 500 stitches currently on the needles, and that's as big as it will get because this is a half pie shawl. It's a half circle. You can't see that because I should have really reached the end of the row first. But the row I'm working on is it's a lace row, and so it goes a little bit slower. So I'll try and pull some of it. There's some feather and fan going on. Now, the interesting thing about this is that This pattern, it's designed for lace weight. However, the yarn that Helen used is actually more like a light fingering weight. Well, I bought lace weight because she told us that it was going to be lace weight. So mine's going to turn out a little bit different than if I had bought the kit. I wasn't too excited about the colorway that they had chosen as far as the kits are concerned. So I just went my own route. And I went with a beautiful yarn. And I don't have my tag in here. I hope it's somewhere. This is Shalimar Yarn's Breathless Lace, which is a single ply, and I believe it's merino silk cashmere. I don't know for certain because I don't have my tag, and I didn't look it up. And the colorway is called Thistle. Gorgeous, soft gray blue color. This thing is going to be big because it's lace weight and it's knit at a pretty large gauge. I'm knitting these on US 5s. So it's a pretty big gauge for lace weight. So it's going to block out pretty big. I'm curious if I'll wear it because I have a hard time wearing my half pie shawls. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's good and squishy. And I like the halo on it. That's pretty nice. So I'm working on this until it's done, because I have 14 rows to go. I mean, there's 500 stitches in each row, but 14 rows. I'm just going to keep going until this is done. Does this solve my US 4s dilemma? No, but get something off the needles and get something finished for the first time this year. And it's still going to take me a while to get there, but I'll try to work a row or two a day, at least a half row today, to get that finished. So that is it for the knitting. And that brings us to the end of the video. You guys don't know this because you're seeing the finished product, but let me just tell you that this video has been a struggle bus. So I have a huge editing task ahead of me. And so I am going to head off and get working on that. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your continued support. If you're new here, I hope that you liked what you saw. I try to keep the variety up. It's not always so planning heavy. I know that's not always everybody's favorite thing, but I enjoy planning, and I like sharing what my plans are with you guys. If you are a returning viewer, then thank you so much for coming back week after week after week after week. Much appreciated. Okay, everybody, I'm out. Happy stitching. I hope everybody's doing well. I will see you next time, and as always, be kind.